All right, welcome back to Professor Wins. So I have a special type of video for you guys today. I actually saw that a lot of people looked this up. It's how to improve your credit score to around 800 plus, or also how to make more money, just in general, even saving more money. So before we get into that, we're going to talk about the channel real quick. If you subscribe, you'll be automatically entered for our we do it once a week. It's a giveaway. So if you subscribe, you're automatically entered to win, and then we do the drawing on Fridays, and I videotape it obviously, and we do a random drawing of the names of the people that are subscribed on the list. So keep track. If you subscribe, who knows, maybe you'll win a lot of money. I don't know. So yeah, check out the channel. Also, we have a yearly pot that every time there's a winning, because of the breakdown of how the money works out, a certain percentage will go towards the yearly pot, and that is shown on Instagram for Professor Wins, excuse me. All right, so let's get into the video. I have my laptop here because I took some notes for you guys. I'll probably show that. Real quick, if you are interested in this, I'm gonna make a PDF version that has a little bit more information to help you. Basically, it's like almost like taking notes. All this information you could find on your own or on yourself if you look it up. But I'm gonna have probably more detailed PDF version for sale on a website that I will link in the description and in the channel. It will be linked to my coaching website, because I do like coaching basketball as well, which I do have workouts for sale on there. But besides that, I do want to have some notes. It's only going to be $1, so we're not going to make it expensive. We're not going to try to, crush people for money or anything. But basically, you're just paying $1 for me to take notes and just give you a little bit more information. If you don't want it, again, you can find it online. Literally just doing a lot of research yourself. So let's get into the video, all right? All right, so I think it's naturally good to start off with credit, because I think credit, even though it's somewhat complex, it's actually pretty easy, and it will help you with budgeting in the future. I think you have to understand credit before. Well, I guess you kind of have to understand both for both to simultaneously work. So in order to get a really good credit score, there are certain things that you need, and you have to be disciplined, and you have to do it very often. So you have to do it religiously, for lack of a better word. So we're going to start off with the most important one, or actually not the most important, but the probably the best place to start off when it comes to credit is you need to have credit, right? This is a smaller percentage of your credit score. I think it's like 15%, but basically it means how long have you had credit for, right? So for me, I didn't have credit when I was younger, in like high school or whatever, which I'll give you some tips real quick on how to fix that. But if you don't have credit, seek it. If you are mature enough to handle that. There's also some other options like debit cards that will actually improve your credit score. If your parent is willing to put your name on their credit card as like a parental credit card, that could also kind of start your credit. There's a few other things that will also help, which is obviously, like I said, parent accounts, the debit cards that improve your credit. Or if you're old enough and you're, like I said, mature enough, just get the credit card. Get one. Don't apply for 1 million, but apply for one and start off there. Also loans, types of loans, like if you have school loans, car loans, etc., that is also credit. Even though it's not a credit card, it is someone lending you money, which is what credit is, right? And based off of your maturity of that is how your score increases, or your discipline, right? Now, I know a lot of it is tough for people, especially if they don't make enough money to afford certain things, and that's where credit gets dangerous. So we'll talk about that as well. But so this is the most important out of all of it. I think this is probably the highest percentage of your credit. So again, this is where people have a tough time. But payment history. On time, on time, on time. You have to be on time. And here's some tips for that. So if you have a credit card and the payment is due the 30th, you have to make sure all that is paid off by the 30th. And that's where budgeting comes in, and we'll get into that. And that's how you make a lot of money, by the way, is budgeting and credit. So before I digress with that, payment history. So if you have like multiple credit cards, you need to make sure either they're scheduled for the same day, or you pay one in the first check, third check, whatever, how many checks you have. Mine's bi-weekly, so it would be one check would go towards one credit card, another check would go towards another one, for example. Or you could schedule them all for the same day at the last month. So for example, the first check would go towards mortgage, or the last check would go towards credit cards. But if you don't budget, that is where it gets scary, because you have to pay a certain amount, a minimum fee, for your payment history to be on time. And even though you do pay that minimum fee, that's where the interest comes in. And that is why everyone wants to give credit cards, because they make money off the interest. It's usually higher percentage, so people make a lot of money off of that, or companies. But if you utilize it right, they won't make that much money off of you, and if anything, you'll actually make more money than they take from you, especially with all the benefits that a lot of credit cards have and afford you in terms of buying things. So make sure you're on time. I actually, and this is something that happened to me recently, and this is a tip for all of you for on time. If you have subscriptions, make sure you remember your subscriptions. So I have multiple credit cards. There was one or multiple of them that I decided not to use because I liked certain ones for investing purposes. And one of them, I forgot that there was a subscription on it. So I didn't even check it, right? Because I didn't think there was going to be anything on it, so I didn't even bother. And because of that, I missed the payment. And that afforded me 36 points or 33 points on my credit. So I'm going to dispute it, obviously. Hopefully it works out. But something you can learn for is, even though you don't think you have, you spent any money on the credit card, just check it at the end of the month or whenever it's due. Maybe write it down with your budget sheet, so that way you don't miss a payment, because it hurts your credit card huge, especially if it happens a lot. That is the first payment I've missed in my entire life. So hopefully the dispute works out, because obviously there's some things I could fight with that, but digress with that. So another portion of credit, not as big as the last one. Like I said, the other one was as big as it gets, but credit type. So having multiple types of credit. If you just have credit cards, it's not going to be as good as the person that has credit cards, home loan, car loan, all that stuff. Because if they're on time with all that, it's going to look a lot better than the person that just has one credit card that he barely uses it and doesn't, pays on time, right? If the other person's paying on time, it's just going to look better. Your credit score will go up. It's not going to be a huge thing, but it will help. So let's get into the next one. Amount of credit used. This is also a big one where a lot of people have trouble with. And again, this is where budgeting comes in. Is a lot of credit that you get, like a credit card, if it gives you $100, obviously it probably won't, but $100 as a max amount you could use, you should only use about $10 to $30 of that, 10% to 30% of how much you're allowed, right? So if you go above that, even if it's for a single credit card, right? If you have one over here that you spent 40 or 50%, it's not gonna help you compared to if you have two credit cards and you split it and it's 30% on both. It's gonna look a lot better than you jam packing one. So keep that in mind, because it will lower it, not that much, but it does affect it, especially if you're at 100%. It's not gonna look good at all. So keep that in mind when you do that. One thing you could do to also help this is ask for a higher credit limit. If you are seeking credit or loans, don't do it within the 3-month period. Make sure it's separate, because the more you seek credit in a short time frame, it will also lower your credit score. So if you haven't and you want to increase your limit, you could do that, and then that will also increase your credit score. But the caveat to that is if you have a 7,000 limit on your credit now, right? And you're jam packing at the 6 because you're not budgeting, then it's going to hurt you in the long run, because now you can't afford it because they gave you a higher limit. You know what I mean? So with the higher credit limit, you really have to be more responsible, right? More mature. Here's just a few little tips that will help you with your credit before we get into budgeting. Is follow your credit, right? So go on Experian or download the app or whatever, create an account and follow your credit. It will actually tell you why it goes up and down, and that way you can see, what's going on. You could actually also dispute stuff, which is why I did. But it's also nice to know, like, you see the chart of your credit going up, and you're like, okay, I'm doing good. You see it go down. Why? Oh, I spent 40% on one credit card. It doesn't look good, right? Or I missed a payment that I didn't know about. So, or even if someone steals your credit, that way because it pops up as like, hey, Professor Wins took out a loan, and you're like, I didn't take out a loan. So use the Experian app. It's very beneficial. It's free. They have a pro version. You do not need it unless you really want it, but just use the free version. It's going to help you basically be more disciplined and keep track of it. Now, the other tip, I already went over this, but ask for a higher credit limit, no more than one every 3 months, or ask for a new credit card for one every three. Again, spread it out within 3 months. That way, you have a higher credit limit. Again, you have to be very responsible because it could hurt you. But if you have more credit, it's going to look better. You're going to have a higher credit score. But again, you got to be responsible because it will hurt you bad. Also, another thing to that is if you have loans and you're taking out house loans, if you get a pre-approval for a loan, you have, and this is where it gets weird, but if you say you go to a bank and you get a loan for a house, now you have 3-month window where you could actually apply for more pre-approvals. So don't just get one pre-approval, go to multiple banks until you get whatever you want, right? Or something that might fit you better. And that way you have options. The brokers probably won't like it, but it helps you, so who cares? But once you go out the 3-month window, because once they run your credit, it's gonna go down immediately. But you have that 3 months to run it again, and it won't hurt you. Once you hit that 3 month and then you immediately go back to it, it's not gonna look good. So get it all out of the way if you're going for a house, and that way you have a lot of options. But that's just a side note, not really with credit. Also, another thing you do is credit boost. I know that you could pay for it. I don't know how much it increases your credit. I've never done it. To be honest, I don't think it's really worth it unless you have really trouble with the credit and you're working to get better. Maybe it'll be worth it just kind of get a quick jump. And let's see. Also, freeze your credit. If you are not getting credit, right, you're not taking out loans or getting new credit cards, just freeze it. There's a lot of people stealing identities nowadays, and it is not worth you having to fight for someone that took a loan out in your name. Just freeze it. Doesn't hurt it. You could unfreeze it real quick on the Experian app. They are not paying me to say this. I actually just like the Experian app. But you can actually freeze it. Super simple. Literally is clicking a button. It's frozen. And I know it works because I've frozen it and then asked for like a new credit card or whatever, and it doesn't work. And then you unfreeze it literally with the click of a button. It takes a millisecond. So take that in mind. Very beneficial. All right. So we're going to get into budgeting. And this is how I believe you get rich to start off with. There's a lot of other things that will help you get richer in the long run, but you cannot get rich if you are not in control of how much money you are making, spending. So this is probably the most important thing, even more than credit, because you don't need necessarily credit to get rich. It will help you because you get loans to buy assets or buy other things, but you don't need credit. You could budget, save money, and buy stuff in cash. So I think budgeting is the most important thing, and I think it's super easy but hard for people because it takes people to have discipline in their spending, which a lot of people don't want to do. And also, you've got to write it down. You have to look at your budget. You have to change your budget depending on if you're making more money, less money this month. Bills go up. You have to actively change it. So before we get into that, I'm going to go through a few definitions for budget that I think are important. Again, the PDF will have a lot more stuff on it, but let's see. So budget. I think definition of budget to me is discipline and keeping track of your money. Like I explained, that's basically what you're doing, is keeping track of your money, and I think it takes a lot of discipline. Now, when it comes to budgeting, you have to know income versus liability. Income is obviously the money you're making. This could be investments, salary, you're getting money from a book you wrote months ago, whatever. However you're making passive money, working, whatever you're doing to make money, that is your income. Liability, anything that costs you money, bills, car loan, electric bill, just anything really that costs you money is a liability. And that is what you base a budget on. And those are the main definitions I want to go over. Again, income, you are going to also put your investments in. And the caveat to that is, like, it's also kind of a liability because you're putting money towards your investments, even though it might make you money in the long run. That is technically somewhat a liability. So we're going to go on the screen record because it's a lot easier for me to show you on a screen rather than me just sitting here and be like, hey, put this here. All right. So, let's get into this screen record budget. Okay, guys, this is not a sexy budget, right? There's so many softwares you could use. You could buy apps. You could buy monthly subscriptions to help you budget and look at other payments that you have. Or you could take the time, download Google Sheets for free, which I will always give you the cheap way because that is the type of person I am. Or you could get Excel if you have it free through other software or work, whatever. But the easy way to do it is Sheets. I think they also actually have budgets pre-made. Again, this is probably the least sexy budget. I made this a long time ago as an example. But let's get into it. So we have obviously monthly budget. Now you could do monthly, or if you have bi-weekly checks, you could do bi-weekly as well. Completely up to you how you want to do it, but just make sure, obviously, if you're doing a monthly budget, that your income's times 2, right? Or your, what's another good example? Dining, right? Instead of going out once a week, now you're going out you're timesing it by 4, if that makes sense. All right, so let's get into, again, liabilities. Everything in red is the liability, expenses, recurring expenses, and savings. I know they have apps for recurring expenses. Again, you do not need it, but if you want it to make your life easier and you have the money, why not? All right, so again, you could pause the video and make this yourself in Excel. Write this down. There's also formulas you could do. So when you're putting the numbers in, you go down here to total expenses, and then you would do, as you see on the screen, I have B6 all the way to B13 plus, and then what's left is that. So down here, I don't know if I put it in correctly. Yeah, I did. All right. Yeah, so I added them all. So for total expenses, this is just some stuff I have for ideas. Dining, gas, fun, purchases for yourself, groceries, and then I put other. So expenses, for the simplest terms, is something that you might want to do for fun. Now, you don't need expenses, right? You don't need to go out dining. Obviously, you need gas, but you don't need to give yourself fun money or purchase money or purchase stuff for yourself. So there's ways you could work around a budget, and that's what makes it really well in terms of making you actually financially free. Because when you actually go through all the math at the end, you're going to see if you are negative money or not. Because if you are negative money, then you got to fix something quick, because you're first off, your credit's probably going to get worse if you're using your credit card, or you are going to be late on a bill or something. So, keeping that in mind, that is why budgeting is so great, because if you could change stuff too, right? And I'll go over that. Like groceries, right? You could pay less. Rent, you could pay less. You can move to a different place. Mortgage, you could refinance loans for cheaper, right? There's so many options. Dining, you could go out less. But that's just some ideas. Fun means like fun money, like going out and, if you want to go to a bar or whatever, how much money you're going to put for that. Dining, if you're going out with friends or girlfriend, a significant other, whatever you expect to pay. And you could do that too. So what you expect versus what's happened, right? So put what you expect and try to stick to it so that way you could make money. And then also do at the end what it actually was. So gas, how much you pay in gas, and then what else? Purchase for yourself, clothes, I don't know, like weights, whatever your hobby is. Groceries, obviously that is a must, but you could also cheap. You could also shop at cheaper places. You could also hone in on all the food you're throwing away weekly, right? So that is expenses, E. Now you go over to the next column. We have reoccurring expenses, right? This is stuff that most likely can't be changed that much. Like I said, rent and mortgage, you really can if you really want to, but it's tougher. And then this just gives you ideas again, right? Utilities, cable, subscriptions, internet, car payment, monthly loans, phone, water, sewer, repairs. You should always save for repairs. So always have some number there, right? And then whatever other. Rent, mortgage, you could change if you really want to. Utilities, you could be, I guess, better and how you use the utilities, but then you could also kind of get screwed because utilities could go up on you whenever they want. Cable, you don't need cable if you really don't want it, but obviously put it there if you do. Subscriptions, Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever it is, put it there. You don't need them, so I guess you actually can change a lot of these. Internet, something you don't need. Car payment, if you have a car payment, you're probably screwed with that for a while. Monthly loans, you're probably screwed with that for a while, but you can refinance these if the interest rates are dropping significantly. Phone, probably not going to change that. Water, sewer, repair, etc. Not going to change that. All right, so let's go over to income. Give you some ideas. Salary. So you could do salary. Obviously, you're not going to do salary, monthly pay. You're going to do one or the other if you do a yearly budget. But so for this aspect, ignore salary. Just do the monthly pay. So again, just times your checks to make sure that they're equal. Overtime, put that in there. Don't put that into your monthly pay. What you expect to make for overtime. Tips, if you're making tips. Bonuses, etc. Pretty simple. Investment profit. So stocks, right? They can make you money if you sell them, or you get dividends. Rental properties, profit from that. If you want to use that, to be honest, I wouldn't use it if you don't need to. Business, same thing. Wouldn't use it if you don't need to. And what I mean by that is, if you have a rental property, you probably want to keep that money separate so that way it goes towards rental properties or more, buying more, right, than actually paying for your bills. But if you need to, you can put it there. Last column, savings. And so this is blue and red because it is an expense because you are pulling money out of your monthly check to pay for it. So again, put a number here and try to stick to it. So that way you're saving money. CDs, if you want to do CDs, that's high yield, but you can't touch it. So keep that in mind. High yield savings accounts is what that is. Stocks, obviously, put some money away for stocks. Do your research. Bonds. Precious metals, if you want to invest in it. I don't think that's a really good investment, but do you. And that's really it. So after you do that, you could either do it the non-tech way and literally just add it up and put it down here for each column, or you could do, if you're familiar with Excel, you could add all these numbers and we'll do it for you, and then you're going to have what's left. If it is a negative number, then you have to reevaluate your budget, and you need to either make it zero or mostly positive. Now, if you are saving a lot of money, right, with investments and stuff, then it's not that big of a deal if it's zero, because technically you are saving money and you are getting richer, right? But if you're not investing money and it is zero, then that is a problem. So you have to figure it out, whether you need to get another job, get a better job, or pay less with these other things. You do not want to be 50 years old with nothing. And I only say that because you want to be able to retire one day or enjoy your life going on trips, right? So take the discipline, take the half hour it takes to make this, and get it done and look at it every week. I promise you, you will get richer without a doubt. It's impossible to not get richer if you have a positive number. And that way you could also, if you have $100 left over, right? And also, real quick, for expenses, you should put your credit stuff in there. If all these bills are going to your credit, then I guess you're good. But what's left, right? $100, and you have bad credit, but you already paid your bills for the month. Put an extra $100 towards that credit so you could get that bill down and get a better credit score, right? Because you don't want to pay interest on that crap. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, if you were interested in the notes, it's really no hassle to me, but it's $1. It's going to be PDF, and I will have the link in the description, and that will be with most of my informational videos. Again, you don't need it. Also, a little tip is if you are looking for credit, make sure when you get a credit card that you are doing your research. I have M1 and a few other things for investment that go into accounts that save me more money or invest me money. And I like that because it's just another way to put money towards your future. So if you like traveling, maybe get one for traveling. But if you struggle to invest, maybe get one that helps you invest and save money. Keep that in mind. I promise you it will make a difference. Don't just get a credit card that says 0 APR for 18 months. It is not worth it unless you were planning on spending a lot of money and paying it back, right? Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. And let me know what you want me to do next. I do like researching stuff, so if I don't know, I will look it up, and I'll give you the best knowledge as I can. We do have a lot of giveaways to make this channel somewhat fun, so please subscribe. It is free. You don't lose anything, and if anything, you have a chance to make money. So peace. Have a good one, guys.